Hey, Stefano, we spoke about attraction and selection in previous casts. And what we're going to do today is bring up something more controversial that I think not many people speak about. So, when you make a bad hiring decision, what do you do?
Let me start by saying it. Obviously, I would like to give some advice here that it may or may not be legal in every country. And please don't take this as a legal advice because it cannot be. And you always have to consult with HR representatives when you are thinking about terminating some sort of employment contract. I'm happy to provide ideas and patterns and processes from my personal experience, but they need to be modified if you want to apply them wherever you are and from wherever you're listening. Now, if we take that out of the way, the first thing that comes to my mind when I think about managers deciding to let other people go is to start with the flip side. There was a very interesting article a couple of months ago on HBR that I'm happy to quote here that says that psychologists have long recognized that people often overestimate the role of personality and underestimate the power of situation in shaping human behavior. What this means effectively is if you have a manager that doesn't actually do his or her job properly and doesn't actually create an environment that is conducive of higher performance, these kind of managers, these lazy managers, have a tendency of blaming the direct reports for all the dysfunctionalities. And they tend to be a little bit more trigger happy when it comes to letting people go. And they obviously blame on the fact that people are what they are. But in reality, research tells us the opposite. Depending on the environment you put each and every employee, you get a different response. So the first thing to consider when evaluating, we're talking about software engineers, but this applies to any kind of data report, is am I supporting the person well enough? And it's funny because our brain is hardwired to forgive ourselves more than we forgive others. And so we tend to look at the other people's mistakes in a different lens as opposed to ours. First of all, we need to change that. We need to be aware of that to compensate for that bias. But if we put that aside and we say, okay, well, a software engineer is a position, is a kind of job that produces a tangible output. So it's relatively easy to determine if performance is there or not compared to more stakeholder engagement roles, for example. So you can evaluate performance more easily, I would say.
What are you looking for in evaluating performance with software engineers?
I usually look for a combination of simplicity, readability of the code, interaction with the team, and speed. Let me cover each of them separately. It's very important that software engineers write readable code because code is like a living thing, and it's really important that other members of the team are able to read the code that you've written as a developer and being able to maintain it. Maintenance is what makes code valuable. A code that can be maintained as effectively as zero value. So in order to make it readable, I'm always looking for a lack of overcomplications, too many abstractions, lack of perfectionism. I've seen this happening. It usually ties up with speed as well. People writing and rewriting the same piece of code, changing the structure for minimal gains. And also, I look for nice and simple comments in the code where choices are being made that explain why those choices have been made. A second element, which I find really, really important, is the interaction with the team. I got to a point in my career where I can almost determine how good or how bad a developer is doing within a team just by looking from the outside, the interaction with the other team members, the kind of communication, the kind of body language when that interaction happens. Another element that I consider is speed. Good developers are fast and they deliver consistently value at a good speed. So the reason why speed is becoming more and more important is also that obviously with agile methodology, you want to deliver value continuously, and there is everybody's on the hook for that. We also have more and better technologies than we used to in the CI/CD space to deploy code. And usually low speed is also a symptom of perfectionism or lack of knowledge. It did happen in the past to me to see developers that actually weren't able to deliver consistently because they were hired without a proper tech test that would cover their technical knowledge.